Every step we take is closer to those peppers.
Dunk,
I'm looking
confirm
forward.
with the teams and fire missiles.
Firing missiles in 3, 2, 1. Let the draft begin. Wait, I didn't click it hard enough. Thinking face? There we go.
Dragonshire for game number 1. Now, Naventic's been in a bit of a slump lately, but they still probably get a reasonable amount of practice with the HGC team. So I'm curious as to how often Naventic has, like, if they've ever scrimmed versus Donkeys or us or at all. Right. I don't know if these guys are going to have much history versus each other.
Yeah, I know some of the HGC teams were saying that they were playing some of the amateur teams now occasionally, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure the extent to which Naventic has been. I don't think there's been any word from them. But we'll have to see.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go into this thinking there's not going to be very many mind games between these two teams. They're just going to come out and play the best Heroes of the Storm they can.
Yeah.
They're not going to have much meta strats against each other, probably.
I'm probably the only one that has like a large amount of knowledge on the amateur teams. Hold It Down and Donkeys R Us coming in because I cast Open Division on Mondays and Tuesday nights on twitch.tv/Arcane8. And honestly, they have been a team that have always been lingering around 4 and 5, maybe even 3 when it comes to the amateur scene throughout 2017. Going into Phase 2 of HGC and the Open Division, they Legend, because they used to be called 4 Guys in Legend. Before that, they were called Nice. Fun fact, they got 4th place at Bloodlust 2017.
Yeah.
As Nice.
They were the previous Hot Pepper cast as well.
They were versus Superstars. Coming into this year, they, definitely wanted to get to that Crucible. Didn't quite make it. Legend opted to leave the team, and they brought in Picanti. And Picanti, ever since they brought him on, they have actually looked a little bit stronger. And I don't know if it's just the honeymoon period or what, but for whatever reason, it's working out well for them.
Man, Big Impact calling it out. Bloodlust champs are here. That was Naventic last year. They did win. The Big Impact wasn't on that roster, but still, wait, was? I don't think so. Big Impact wasn't a part of that team, was he?
I think he was.
Was
I
he?
think he was.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe he was.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
But
yeah,
Naventic are the
back.
reigning champs of
Yeah.
Bloodlust.
Now, I got a question for you, Dunk. We talked about this on Town Hall Heroes right before the show. Talked about the current state of Zul, how he's pretty great, and he just got tweaked out a bit. We see the first ban on Zul now. We all know that Zul's in a better spot overall. Now, is this specifically banned because it's Dragonshire, or is Zul actually that good that he deserves a first ban now?
I think first ban worthy is because of Dragonshires. Shires. Dragonshire is one of those maps where the 2 lanes are so close together.
Yeah.
Zul's always been a monster on those maps. And Global is also extremely valuable on this map. So it looks like Donkeys actually really came into this map with a plan. And I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you got to respect this team. They're like a bunch of cockroaches. They just like always there, never going away, but like surviving the chaos. They hold it down, but they're not hold it down. They're just, LZ Gamer's always going to be around.
The annoying thing is Hold It Down changed their name to Held It Down in HGC Open, but they're Hold It Down tonight. They're Hold It Down. I'm not dealing with that.
Do you know why they had to do that?
There's some rule
changes.
with like subs not being allowed if they're not added prior to the cup or prior to the league.
So they're technically disbanding so they can get their roster swap back.
And losing all their points.
They're losing all their points, which, I mean, it's smart on their end, for sure. It's a funny workaround to the system, but if they want that roster swap, I mean, I think it was the best decision.
So Dahaka and Dragonshire is going to give you a lot of, just constant rotations that are scary as hell, because Race Hard Dahaka going through the bushes is a nightmare. But Tas Illidan, this isn't exactly the number 1 Illidan map.
Yeah, typically not what you think of when you think Illidan. But Illidan Tas, really strong. We're going to have to see if Donkeys has a plan for this. Now, this is on the new Stukov balance patch, guys. So this is on the live patch you are playing, and that is what is going to be played at the Western Clash, the Eastern Clash. So we don't have an exact idea of what the meta will look like. We know what it looked like before the balance patch, but now that Stukov is in,
Genji changes.
Genji nerfs. Yeah, there's going to be definitely some differences this weekend, and this is kind of your first peek at maybe what the Clash meta will look like.
Which is really exciting, and you always have to take in mind that this prize pool, comparing this to something like the Western Clash, you can't. The Western Clash is infinitely more prestigious. So since we do, in fact, have Tempest Storm and Guild Force Esports in this tournament, and they're playing that cup, they very well will likely hide strategies.
Yeah.
We're not going to see everything in their arsenal. And that could mean even wonkier strats out of them. It's really impossible to know until we get through the weekend. Regardless, we're going to start to see the impact that Zool has had in his recent changes, especially in maps like this come into play, and then the Genji changes and the Stukov changes.
Is Ariel Gul'dan still a good combo? I know because Gul'dan's constant damage, he always fluffs up the Ariel healing, but is it like still a good combo in the state of this meta? Like them being together,
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
a good combo, but in this meta,
On the fast rotate maps, I think some teams prefer it to Ariel Vala.
Tomb and Dragon
Yeah.
Shadow.
Right.
It's mostly a team preference, whether they want the extra wave clear of Gul'dan or they'd rather have the more consistent battery from the Vala. And here we see Donkey's opted for the wave clear, and then Uther actually getting banned out, so Naventic thinks those nerfs were not enough. They're still worried about the Uther counter to the Illidan with the D-Storm probably. End up banning him out. Rhaegar banned out as well.
do you agree with
forcing-
that, the Uther ban? Do you think it...
It's very common. Yeah. It's,
No,
Yeah, I think it's good against
versus
Illidan.
Illidan.
Yeah. I think it's a smart choice. Uther Ariel also known to be pretty tough to deal with because Ariel's so good in those sustained fights, and Uther makes sure you don't instantly lose a
burst,
team
yeah.
fight. But solo damage Gul'dan is a little awkward, so I'm not sure how likely Donkeys was to pick it. We have seen that composition before, but
Right.
not my favorite. Now, Malfurion Stitches added to Naventic's roster actually gives them... They go from like a no-threat early composition, like they actually have kill pressure now. Hook into Malfruit, it does not take a very good DPS to follow up on that for that to be a kill, especially with Tass in the mix. I assume Illidan will be their solo laner. And Donkey's really looking for this teamfight superiority. The Arthas pick, completely teamfight oriented, reasonable early game.
Good
Grey
against
main
Illidan.
again, good against Illidan in the teamfights. But they don't have very much siege pressure. The Gul'dan will handle clearing waves defensively excellent, but I'm worried about this composition into a Stitches comp. They very easily could get someone picked off with only the Crystal Aegis to save targets.
Yeah, that's a good point. Overall, I mean, Dahaka, with the fast rotations, they'll have the global advantage. I don't know if that's super valuable on this map, and it could still be the hunt for Illidan to
We've been
match
seeing
that.
mostly Hunt lately,
Yeah. Even if this isn't the biggest map for globals, it's still always something you got to consider. Last spot here, you think it's a solo lane, or?
I imagine this will be the range damage dealer to go in the 4-man on the bottom side. It's unlikely that
Vala, maybe?
Naventic wants to run
So if it's
Illidan in their 4-man.
if it's like Tass Dahaka, how favorable is that for Dahaka?
Whoa.
Oh.
That's interesting.
It is the trickling blow up that we've started to see with Chromie, ever since, especially in Open Division, ever since the Zool change, we've been seeing a lot more Chromie on maps like this in Tomb.
I like that Chromie skin. It's cute.
It's also
Just like side tangent.
I hate it.
It also lets you potentially pick the temporal loop to counter Ariel's lack of cleanse. She has to basically use Aegis to save a
Oh, yeah.
Gul'dan or a Greymane who's even slightly out of position when they get temporal looped, although I'm not certain that Biggie will be playing the loop over the Sands since it's just so valuable against Arthas and Dahaka.
Well, here we go. The first match, or the first game even, of Bloodlust 2017 will be between Naventic, who came in replacing Team Freedom, who are in their boot camp for Kiev, the HGC Western Clash, and they're up against Donkeys R Us. A lot of familiar names if you've watched the amateur scene or watched Heroes for a long time. I mean, Zoe and I have known LZ Gamer since the StarCraft days.
Yeah, man. Jake's been around forever. Another Jake. Not you, the other Jake.
His name is Jake.
LZ Gamer was one of the first people, and didn't he complete at the very first BlizzCon for Evil Geniuses too, like with Idra and stuff?
Yeah, I think he did. He did.
Yeah, on Faye and Chillatex.
Wow.
And who
that
was
was
that? I
a
forget.
different era.
Yeah. So LZ Gamer's been around for a while, and he's a really nice dude. Here you go, guys. Going into game number 1. Jake, take it away with the intros.
On the blue hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we do have Naventic, Tomster, B-Kid, Big Impact, Zuna, and iDream will be our blue team.
And on the right-hand side of the map in the red, we have Donkeys R Us, Slice Blade, Jin, Elheim, LZ Gamer, and I forget who their Gul'dan player is.
10 seconds.
Picante. There we go. Thank you, Miwa.
5,
Drake himself.
3,
And ever since they brought him in, honestly, I've been really impressed by the overall performance of the team. They've been getting top 3 in the HGC Open Division Cups, getting close to beating teams like Hold It Down. And naturally, they're here. They qualified through the Bloodlust Open. We had 4 open qualifiers, then a playoff in Bloodlust Open. They grabbed that second spot.
It was LZ that had that sick mouth though play, right? In
yeah.
division, yeah. So they've been making plays. So they've definitely been improving. So I'm excited to see how they are going to hold up versus again Naventic. It's still crazy to kind of say that you can never just completely write off Naventic even though they're in such a horrible slump right now. But they're at the bottom of the HGC right now, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how well these guys do as an amateur team versus the bottom rank of the HGC team.
Control them and let loose the
One thing to note about just the team of Donkeys R Us in general is they are more or less a macro-focused team, in my opinion. They tend to excel in those in the macro environment. They often do play things like Illidan, and I'm curious if Naventic specifically drafted Illidan on this map due to scouting they saw of this team, because that's a common thing we see out of Donkeys R Us. B-Kid on the Illidan is going deep, does manage to get the juke and the shield in time. Nearly
you
picked
are
up the kill,
nuts.
but yeah, Zuna on Stitches is pretty far out.
B-Kid's nuts too! Zuna and B-Kid have lost their damn minds, so I have nothing else to say about that fight. They were both bonkers R Us.
Yeah, I don't even think Arthas needed to rotate up for them to get one of the kills there. It was pretty insane, the Illidan re-engage. I think one of the 2 could have easily escaped.
Yeah.
But just
I mean, B-Kid do not need to go back in there at all.
I appreciate the Bloodlust, though. That's what
yeah,
we're here
that's
for.
true. That is true.
It's all about the Bloodlust. Well, level 4 being picked up here on the side of Donkeys R Us, getting those 2 kills with a nice experience lead very early in this game. Naturally, of course, you always got to be worried about the picks, so Chromie, Stitches both excelling in that area. Crystal Aegis the only... If they go for Chrono Loop, I mean, you're burning Crystal Aegis, right? That's her heroic and her cleanse all in one.
That is the only option available now. Picante has opted for the Corruption build on Gul'dan, which we have been seeing a little less of lately. Most of the Gul'dan players have been going Fell Flame, just for that more consistent damage. But the Corruption build, once it spikes to 16, has more burst, but less overall impact in team fights, unless you get a sick Corruption cast off. So most of the time when you're relying on that Ariel Hope to come from the Gul'dan, you see the Fell Flame build.
Now, what are your thoughts, Don? Because we talk about how Gul'dan can control the rotations on a map like this. Right now, they have the Gul'dan just AFK bot lane, while it seems to be the Grey Mane and the Oriole rotating around. What are your thoughts on that?
It seems like an interesting adaptation to the duo top lane of the Illidan Tacita. That's pretty much been Naventic's plan the whole game. They don't want to leave Dahaka alone up here against those 2. He can't control the shrine. He will get pushed in and lose his buildings if he's alone for multiple waves against those heroes. I'm not sure it's the best possible response to that, because it seems like it is giving up some of their early game wave clear advantage that they could have had. And now it looks like Picante actually got hooked out from underneath his gate in that bottom lane. And even though Biggie didn't quite hit the center on that W, it was still enough damage to take him down with the Malfruit.
Yeah, clean kill.
The Chromie follow-up on the Stitches hook is a little bit difficult to land. You don't really have time to perfectly line up the W at the landing point unless the Malfruit is there. So we're going to have to keep an eye on how that works out for them the rest of the game.
What are your thoughts, Jake?
I mean, overall, it's just been a pretty standard game of Dragon Shard, going for the night camps right now to try to get some lanes pushed out. The rotations on both sides, finding a few kills here and there. Nothing super weird. The weirdest things to me is seeing Stitches being played by Zuna, B-Kid on the Illidan instead.
Yeah, I think
that's
I talked about that with iDream a few weeks ago. I think that was a shift they're wanting to make, is putting Zuna on tanks more and moving B-Kid off. I don't know how much that's fleshed out. It was kind of like a side comment.
Naturally, it's a team that needs an adjustment somewhere,
yeah.
right? They haven't been seeing the success they want in HGC Pro League, and that's obvious.
Bye,
Big Impact
Biggie.
is going to get caught out here, and then that's just the power of Arthas in the rotation. But losing a Chromie for a Dragon, honestly, it's pretty much an even trade, if not beneficial for Naventic here.
Yeah, Naventic's going to be okay with that trade, for sure. It secures the mid wall that was already pretty damaged, and it's just going to be rotating, looks like up towards the top lane. It wants to finish that wall off. The more you can get these walls down and open up the map, it just makes this Illidan composition so much more powerful. The Illidan comp really just has so much of an advantage if it can chase the opponents down when it has a small lead in the team fight.
Yeah.
And DK actually not getting as much value as I would have liked here. It
I mean,
kind
it's
of walked
fine
back
that-
and forth between top side and bottom side of mid, so it couldn't
Yeah, he
kill
really
the
only got
second wall.
that one tower mid out of it.
I think Illidan got some pushing onto Greymane in the top lane at least, so while they're forcing the attention, Jhin will be chrono looped into the combo, and Illidan rotating down, expecting this opportunity for the kill. Good coordination there from Naventic, finding the kill on Arthas. Usually not an easy target, but since there was so much focus on the dragon in the bottom lane, they were able to use that chrono loop advantage, having that early for the kill.
And now Chrono Loop was the choice, so there's basically two big threats that almost immediately consume a Crystal Aegis. Chrono Loop and Stitch's Hook. Either one, Ariel doesn't really have a way to save a target other than Crystal Aegis from those two, so it's going to be tough to try and balance positioning for the rest of the team. They don't want to get Chrono Looped, they don't want to get hooked if Crystal Aegis is down.
That's Ollie Ops? Up there?
Yeah, dude.
That's sick.
Ollie does amazing work. Shout out to Ollie, one of the members in the community that makes this UI.
B-Kid, run!
It's just such a well-spaced UI for making nice, pretty overlays like this, and he deserves the shout-out. B-Kid will get picked off here, and suddenly it's 4-2 in terms of kills. Experience still very even due to that dragon advantage. You can see the Mercs hitting some good pressure here as Malfurion's able to push out of the lane. I mean, Malf's safe to push that in behind the Merc camp since Stitches and Chromie have complete vision on the potential rotation down the mid. And they're just going to respond with pressure in the top lane on the side of Donkeys R Us, trying to even the odds, even the structural damage being dealt.
So Donkeys R Us maybe felt a little light in damage and lockdown against Illidan, so they opted for the isolation onto Haka. We'll have to see if that pays off for them.
Kujabile, and Chromie goes down immediately.
Yeah, Big E being very far pushed forward. And the team wasn't really in position. No iDream to be able to shield them. So again,
Yeah, there's no cleanse at all on Naventic actually. So with the
don't
extra
have that.
lockdown,
they have a lot. Those Arthas to Haka, they can really get picks.
Would you have been interested in seeing like Bye-Bye since there's no cleanse? Biggie's died twice already.
I mean, bye-bye, maybe not, but I would have liked to see Ice Block. I don't feel like reaching through time is necessary for Chromie to be impactful in these fights. She can follow up on an Illidan safely without that talent, and Illidan's going to be making a lot of space. I think the 7-second version of Ice Block that Chromie gains access to is just more valuable.
Well, both shrines currently, well, not anymore, as Tomster does take the bottom shrine. Still, they're going to need a pick to be able to pull that off, and we're waiting for more than just a Chromie death here. I'm curious as to... we're going to be seeing the Greymane again, and we have his nerfed heroic Cursed Bullet.
Yeah.
It's only 5%, right? 35?
It's 35
It's
instead of
40 to
45,
35%, yeah.
So it's cool to see that hasn't really changed too much. I'm curious as to how noticeable it will be versus the Stitches. Because Stitches is always one of the heroes that when you hit with it, it's absurdly noticeable. 5% is not that big of a difference, but it might be enough to save the Stitches. Especially with the double support.
For whatever reason, the game does lag like this, like once a tournament.
That
So
is
hopefully,
fly.
hopefully we're over the lag spike. But
Oh, it does that too. Oh man, Ollie's Obs is sick. It shows on the right side, guys. Look at that thing. What talents are picking when quest talents are picked. That's
See-
Ollie Obs is dope.
last time we cast together, Zoya didn't want to download it because he was being lazy, and
Yes.
now he realizes the giant blender he's made. Okay, LZ Gamer does get that curse bullet in. Looks like most of the damage was nullified.
Yeah.
Good job from iDream getting the shield there in time.
Isolation on Stitches is not the target you want after he's already escaped with Bile. Nice burrow though by Slice Blade. No kills for either team here, and
So
minor cooldown deficit against Donkeys.
Yeah.
yeah, pretty even trades overall though. Tomster is just rotating down here. They can look to siege up this bottom lane a little bit further. When it comes to Dragonshire, I mean, it's the general rule is if you're playing in Hero League and you have the option to push one lane, bottom's always the most valuable lane to push out, which is why you've seen a bit of focus there from Naventic. Oh, that heal.
Even through all that, Zuna's still getting very low. That was
Twilight
a
Dream
nice
at 4!
Twilight Dream. An Archon flank from iDream doing a lot of damage to that backline. Already Greymane is down. Elheim is in a rough position. Does get
Nice,
that
Crystal.
Crystal Aegis, though. Still in a rough spot, and that's going to be the death. 2 for nothing so far.
Chrono loop.
And oh, here comes the loop. Will Jhin go down? Nice hook on the Picante, though. And Jin's very low as well. Will the Chromie get it? He does dodge it, but he's still going to go down. Slice Blade being slowed by a little bit by that body block. And wow, a 5 for nothing exchange. Naventic played that very well.
5 for nothing in a 4v5. Hello?
Dude.
Naventic the Kings?
That
I didn't realize Illidan wasn't there the whole time.
Beacon had so much faith in his team, he didn't even hunt
This
down.
is why
he
you
knew
can't
Hunt
sleep
was
on
up
them.
after 2 or 3 seconds into that fight, but they had already gotten a pick, so he just let his team win the 4v5.
That was a 4-person Twilight Dream.
Yeah.
Chromie, they force snapped the Crystal Aegis before Chronolope was even used, just because. I mean, it was a nice Crystal Aegis on herself.
Yes.
But the Chromie combo was coming out. They predicted that was the target.
Yeah.
Save their own life. But once that's down, the hook and the Chrono Loop, like, you're done.
Yeah, this is the problem with running Gul'dan as the battery for Ariel against a Chromie. He cannot put out enough damage on heroes consistently to heal away the Chromie damage, the poke. So Ariel was trying to generate hope off of minion damage, which just does not work anymore against Chromie poke.
Yeah.
So they were all low. They had to stick around or they would have lost a Dragon Knight, and they should have just given up the Dragon Knight because they ended up losing a team fight crushingly.
Yeah, that was really well done from Naventic. I mean, the flank from iDream on the Task Star got a lot of damage onto that backline. It was just beautifully executed from the entire team here. We do see that they have gotten the front wall down here on this bottom keep, and out of nowhere, we have a 3-level lead. All of the front forts are down for Donkeys R Us, and Naventic has a very significant lead out of nowhere.
You can just see that Chromie poke really stacking up. Ariel right now is so low on HP, and there's nothing she can do about it. She's just not generating the hope she needs off of this Gul'dan when you're behind like this with an Ariel comp. It's so tough. Oh my gosh, that was so close to being an execution there by Biggie.
Yeah,
Just
that
nailing
Biggie's
these Chromie
doing
shots.
work.
Dude, he really is going to town on that Chromie.
Hook doesn't land.
Yeah.
Chromie Dragon Knight doesn't land.
Your face scared me
No
so
more
much.
kills happening on the siege, but I think Naventic has good enough control of this to get this keep eventually.
All right,
just-
Jin heavily pressured. Biggie does have all of his abilities on cooldown at the moment, so not going to be at risk of going down. He can pretty safely heart there, but Biggie has eyes on with
Oh, top lane to Hawka might.
interrupt is good. He can't kill Biggie though. Biggie has hunt if he has to retreat.
He's got the silence on him,
Is it
but I
enough?
think it's a little too early. And he doesn't have Feeding Frenzy at level 7, so he's just not.
Oh,
going to get the
LZ! Surprise! Hello! Oh, I
Health
think the
does
first pearl
nothing.
missed.
No, it hit, but it's percentage based on total health at the current moment.
Oh,
so
okay.
it doesn't since he was already so low, it was maybe 6% damage or something.
Yeah.
So 1 for
pretty
1,
trivial.
though.
Yeah, that's interesting. The Symbiosis pick at level 7 really hurt Tahaka in the
Keep
1v1.
went down, by the way.
Oh, Keep did fall. Okay.
Yeah, Keep did fall.
Yeah.
Excellent. Naventic's in a really good spot right now. 3-level lead. Donkeys R Us has that 16 tier finally, but they're about to be at another talent deficit as they're closing in on 20, and with having to deal with a 20 disadvantage plus not having a bottom keep, this is a tough. Like they need to make something happen here before the Dragon Knight. They need to get a fight on 19 versus 16.
Yeah, it's a tough window for them, honestly. I mean, it all came down to that one fight. When you get a win 4v5, you kill the whole team, and you're soaking and pushing another
You
lane.
take a whole fort in the top lane.
Dude, yeah, like the
game is-
experience
yeah.
swing in that moment is like game ending.
Yeah. It would have been a completely different story if it was like 5 kill for 4 kill or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Then the game is still pretty close, but like just the absolute blowout of the 5 for 0 is too much to recover from. And Donkeys knows it. They're positioned really aggressively on the map. They're trying to get in here and get this fight.
A lot of damage
First
already
one
going on
flips.
to Arthas at the beginning of this, and he does pop Army of the Dead. He's getting healed up very slowly, but he's still
no.
taking so much damage. Good heals coming out from Elohim, though. Furion really far forward, though, gets the Ice Block off. Still hasn't Twilight Dream, though. Can he get off? No, Thompson gets denied the Twilight Dream.
Yeah, he tried casting it, did get interrupted at the last moment, so low. I mean, that was a nice fear to isolate the Malfurion. A big part of these fights has been those Twilights, but look how low they all are. It's a 1-for-1 trade in the end. Jin's going to go down 2-for-1 now. And even losing Malf at the start of the fight, they just don't have enough oomph behind that.
Where's the temporal?
Oh! Sniper!
Come on, Biggie. Oh, didn't land. Okay.
Zuna going up against LZ. Looks like LZ is going to go down here, too. Ooh, B-Kid gonna go. Yeah, okay, they got the kill. Zuna's gonna be just fine as well. So 4-for-1 exchange after all is said and done. Almost took core damage from those siege giants. They did take core damage from the siege giants. Not much, 2%,
yeah.
but that's permanent this game. And
Talking a little about the Stitches nerfs, still top hero damage on his team actually. Kind of crushing those damage meters. He has been in pretty much all the fights, all the 4v4s, while Chromie and Illidan were relegated
Yeah,
to
Illidan hasn't
1v1s
really
or
been
clearing
there.
wet lanes. But still, just something to keep in mind.
Oh, there goes the hunt down onto Picante there. The hook ends up connecting with the Haka instead. Slice Blade getting the drag onto Zuna while B-Kid's diving deep. He's starting to kite it back. The burrow was used by Slice Blade. Jin here trying to zone them out, but iDream is in this Dragonite, and he's going to be going straight onto Core. Malfurion is going to be really late to the party, though, as we see Biggie walk, or not Biggie, Tomster walking from across the map here. Core starting to fall, though, very quickly here. Army of the Dead's been popped by Jin. He's trying to peel for Zuna. iDream's at half HP, and a nice kill onto Oriole coming out from Chromie. B-Kid just barely going to gather. A big three-man Twilight Dream coming out from Tomster there. That's going to be the death of Jin. That's going to be the death of LZ Gamer. Slice Blade might barely get out of there, but I don't think it matters. There we go. Nice. So 64% on the core here. That's a full wipe. And Naventic with very decisive team fights this entire game.
Yeah.
They were losing the early game with those picks. We saw Chromie get picked a few times. We saw that very